Hello and welcome everyone to another fantastic episode of Reality Bites. I am super grateful that you can join me and tune in for this latest episode, and it's a special episode because I'm going to be introducing something a little bit different and a little bit, special is the word I was looking for, because this is a topic or a series of principles that I want to introduce that I am super fascinated by. And I actually did all the groundwork, the research, all the notes, all the preparation to share these principles, this ancient wisdom, these laws of the universe, if you like, at least months and months ago, a long time ago. And for whatever reason, it wasn't the right timing to share, but I was fully invested and committed, and I really wanted to share these principles because I truly believe that they are, they're important, and they're actually operating in our reality, whether we realize it or not. I would actually assert that the principles that I'm going to outline, the Hermetic Principles, actually you've used before, whether you were aware of it or not. And maybe you are, maybe that you just know them under a different term or a different name. So my intention is to share my take, my thoughts on these principles through a 7-part RealityBites series. So featuring and exploring the 7 Hermetic Principles as told in the Kybalion. Now, I'll dive a little bit deeper into the Kybalion and a little bit of the origin of the Hermetic Principles in terms of what I understand and what I've researched, because it's still a little bit, shrouded in sort of mystery as to where it actually originated from, because it goes so far back, and obviously through history it can change. It can be a little bit lost in translation, I suppose. But in any case, my hope is that with these series of podcasts that you'll become aware and familiar of just how these principles are showing up in your reality, and just how you can best utilize and take advantage to co-create your experience in accordance with these laws, or these universal laws. So this will require some awareness and willingness to observe when these principles show up. And of course, you've got to know these principles first, which we'll discuss through the course of these upcoming Reality Bites podcasts. But as I've said, I'm sure you've utilized them. I'm sure you actually know most of them. And I know that for a fact that I have. And it's just, for me, it was really comforting to know that there were these 7 principles that were like identified and made perfect sense as sort of fundamental laws that govern the universe. And that's a good question. Are there principles? Are there laws that govern the universe? Of course, science will tell you that there are. And just through our own direct experience, we can understand that this is definitely the case with the universe, that there are certain principles that govern the laws of reality. And if we have an awareness of that, then maybe we can influence or co-create with these principles, and therefore manifest and set intentions and just create our reality more on purpose, I suppose. So, as I mentioned, the 7 Hermetic Principles were told most famously in the Kybalion, which is a book first published in 1908 by the 3 initiates. And they were the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus. And basically they conveyed the study of Hermetic philosophy from ancient Egypt and Greece. He was seen as the father of occult wisdom, the founder of astrology, the discoverer of alchemy. The Egyptians actually had a name for them, and they called him Thoth or Thoth. And years later, the people of ancient Greece named him Hermes, the god of wisdom. And Trismegistus means thrice great, or translated as the greatest great. So that's sort of a little bit of a short history of the Kybalion, Hermes Trismegistus, and how the Hermetic Principles sort of came about. But of course, as I say, it's shrouded in mystery, really, and you're quite welcome to do your own research surrounding that. But we do use the word Hermetic today, which means sealed or nothing can escape, which kind of leads me to think that it was sort of a secretive, ancient sort of wisdom. But of course, we all know, we know about it now, don't we? So yeah, and also the Kybalion, the exact meaning and origin of this term has been lost. So what is Hermetic wisdom? Well, in Hermetic thought, the movements of planets are believed to have a meaning beyond the laws of physics and actually hold metaphorical value as symbols in the mind or all or God or universe, which have influence upon the earth, but do not dictate our actions. So wisdom is gained when we know what these influences are and how we can best utilize them. So I hope that makes sense. But basically, these principles, when you understand, and I will introduce the 7 principles, and I'm going to start off with obviously the first one, which I believe is the most important one, and I'll try and explain why, and that is the principle of mentalism. So when you understand us as human beings, obviously I've mentioned this before, that we know we exist through our awareness and our consciousness, and this is how we create our reality, or this is how we know we have a reality, then it's important that, well, what is consciousness and where is consciousness and what is awareness? And does it operate in the mind? Hence the principle of mentalism, which states the all is mind, the universe is mental. Okay, so all is mind, the universe is mental, and that's straight from the Kybalion. So yeah, that's going to be our first deep dive into the first principle, the principle of mentalism. But the 7 principles, before we go there, the 7 Hermetic principles are the principle of mentalism, the principle of correspondence, the principle of vibration, the principle of polarity, the principle of rhythm, the principle of cause and effect, and the principle of gender. So those are the 7 principles that we are going to discuss through this RealityBites series. But yeah, anyway, let's just kick off with the principle of mentalism. So the principle basically states that the universe is itself at a foundational level a mental projection, that all phenomena, life, matter, energy, all the material universe, right, are thoughts of an infinite and universal living mind. Hence, all is mind, which is another way of saying, I suppose, mind is spirit, or they're intertwined or entangled. It's, yeah, I believe in Hermetic wisdom, they do say that mind and spirit are the same. So it's like, when you think about it, when you want to create or manifest something, it has to begin in the mind. So your thoughts become reality, but it begins in the mind. So it is believed that God is consciousness, God, universe, source, however you want to term it. God is consciousness or thought, and the universe is a manifestation of the mind of God or source, or what I like to use is the field. So this mental universe, for sake of an experiment, could be explained as an infinite an intelligent field that we have access to, that we obviously are connected to and not separate from. And it's also the nature of consciousness itself. And I've often said that You are the field, and you're also the knower of the field. So you're obviously inextricably connected to the field. So you are the field. So here's a quote from the Kybalion. He who grasps the truth of the mental nature of the universe is well advanced on the path of mastery. Use law against law, the higher against the lower, and by the art of alchemy, transmute that which is undesirable into into that which is worthy, and thus triumph. So what it's saying there, my understanding, is that we as creative beings can influence through using these laws, these principles, and obviously the art of alchemy, create and manifest. And so it's a little bit like, The Secret, which was made popular with the law of attraction. And obviously with these principles, the law of attraction is probably the principle of vibration, just off the top of my head, but they interchange. So yeah, that's the first principle, the principle of mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. So that's a good way to kick off this series, just to contemplate on the mind, the field, knowing the field, spirit. In other words, the very essence of who we really are, the formless, the infinite, the unbounded, the immeasurable. What is it? I know that quantum mechanics, quantum theory, science hasn't fully discovered or actually know where consciousness arises, but it's leaning towards it being a field as opposed to we create conscious, but we are conscious, this itself. So it's almost like the brain is an activity and the mind consciousness is something we tune into, a little bit like a receiver or a transponder, I guess. That's one way to look at it. But I would encourage you to contemplate and to, just to think a little bit more about what you think the mind is. And is the universe mental? In some ways, it's super freaking mental. But yeah, the principle of mentalism. So I'll leave you with that, guys, as the introduction to the 7 Hermetic Principles, a RealityBites series. And we will catch you on the next one, where I will go into the second principle, Hermetic Principle, and that's the principle of correspondence. So thanks for joining me, and look forward to chatting with you, sharing some more wisdom on the next episode of Reality Bites.